In 2023, we've seen a lot of workflow in terms of the IORP2 regulation and master trusts. And the two streams of work are really interlinked because IORP2 led to a great increase in the amount of policies. You needed new individuals, key function holders appointed. And this didn't really make sense in terms of the monetary spend and the administrative hassle for smaller defined contribution schemes. So what we saw a lot of in 2023 were these smaller defined contribution schemes opting to wind up and transfer their arrangements into a master trust. Now, there was a lot of work in there in terms of actually going through the various pieces of the puzzle, as it were, when it comes to winding up a defined contributions scheme. And also there's an employment angle there. Can you do it? And what's the employee's rights in terms of pensions? And where these schemes went was by and large into new master trust arrangement that have cropped up with numerous providers in Ireland. So we worked with a lot of these providers, in fact, setting up these large, what are essentially large group defined contribution schemes. And we've also worked with our clients who are moving pensions into these new arrangements and are also moving their employees' pension arrangement going forward to be provided through the master trust. So there was a lot of work getting clients comfortable with, is this the right arrangement? What are the risks involved for us in moving to a master trust arrangement? So for 2024, I see much of the same because we did have a large number of schemes in 2023 that were adopting a kind of holding pattern and waiting to see what options would be available, how auto-enrolment would pan out, and how this might impact on their future pension decisions. So I think in 2024, we're going to see a lot more wind up of small defined contribution schemes and a lot more movement towards master trusts. One of the main things I think we're going to be dealing with in 2024 is auto-enrolment. And I think it's going to be something that everyone, employers and employees, is going to have to get familiar with very quickly. At the moment, it's planned to come in at the end of 2024, but there's a lot of skepticism in relation to whether it will be possible for that deadline to be met because there's a lot of moving parts that need to be resolved before then. For instance, the Central Processing Agency, which will be the main body underpinning auto-enrolment in Ireland, will have to be established. In the UK, the analogous entity took several years to be set up. So if we're looking at a period of months to set up the CPA, that is very optimistic. Secondly, employers are going to have to get used to this. They're going to have to look at this scheme and see how auto-enrolment will tie in with the existing employees' arrangement. Do they stick with their current arrangement or do they opt for auto-enrolment? There's going to be education also for employees. Do they look at staying in their existing schemes or moving into auto-enrolment? Because one of the issues with auto-enrolment that people have at the moment is that the tax system is going to be different to the existing tax system for occupational pensions in Ireland. So that could lead to situations where certain individuals may be better off staying in the existing scheme as opposed to moving into auto-enrolment. And there's a number of other problems that people have highlighted. For instance, auto-enrolment's not going to apply to self-employed people. And that is seen as a problem and something that needs to get sorted out before the legislation is drafted underpinning auto-enrolment. Another issue is possibly that the eligibility criteria and the entry age for auto-enrolment is set at too low. At the moment, the plan is for individuals to join when they turn 20, and people think that this is too old and that it should be set at a lower bar. So there's a lot to be done, a lot to be considered in auto-enrolment, and whether or not this can be all done within the first half of next year to meet the Q4 2024 deadline is another question altogether. My one piece of advice for employers in 2024 would be to look at the auto-enrolment system and to assess the impact that it's going to have on their employees. The sooner they do this, I think the better for their employees because it's going to have a financial impact. At the moment, the contribution rate is going to be around 1.5%. So I think employers need to factor that in. And they also need to factor in the fact that it's envisaged that this will increase over time to thereabouts 5% in about 4 or 5 years' time. So employers really need to look at the auto-enrolment costings. They need to assess What will be the cost? Is there a cost of educating employees in relation to pension to get them engaged, or will that be all handled by the state? They need to look at the costings in terms of how much will we as employer be paying into this. They also need to consider that employees will be requested to pay into auto enrolment. How will that need to be managed? Will some employees become disillusioned by paying into this, especially those that are maybe saving for a home, saving for marriage? So there's going to be some discontent, and the auto enrolment path isn't going to be fully smooth all the way. I think there's going to be a lot of anger possibly with employees in relation to being forced to save for their retirement. And I think it'll come down to education and whether or not the state takes the lead role in that or the employers take the lead role. That has to be decided yet. But I think 2024 employers need to fully grasp AE, what's going to cost and what they need to do. If I could change one thing in the Irish pensions landscape, it would probably to have a full-time pensions minister in their role in cabinet. It's something that the UK has had for many years, and their pension system is very similar to our own. I think there are so many pensions issues going on in Ireland at the moment, be it with public sector pensions, defined benefit pension schemes, which are currently in surplus, a lot of them, defined contribution schemes, IORP2, auto enrolment. I think a pensions minister will be best placed to lead the whole industry and to provide guidance. It's worked very well in the UK, and I think it's something that Ireland could really benefit from. And it would also lead to a bit more joined up thinking, I think. Because at the moment, you've got a lot of different government departments and regulators involved in pensions. You'd have Revenue, Pensions Authority, Department of Social Protection, all feeding in. So I think it would be very useful to have a focal point, that focal point being a pensions minister, to help with the pensions industry in Ireland.